Hello, everyone. I'm Bob Varsha, along with David Hobbs. Welcome to a special series of race broadcasts here on Speed Channel as we welcome the FIA Formula 3000 Championship to our Speed Channel programming lineup. FIA Formula 3000 is the top-level development series for Formula One. We'll cover the 2002 season in a series of delayed broadcast in preparation for live coverage of the series in 2003. David, let's talk about the circuit here at the season opener in Sao Paulo.
Exactly, the season opener. The first time these guys have been to Brazil, and there you see the track. A lot of elevation change on this track. Very long uphill straight to the start-finish line into turn one. Very tight left-hander, then sweeping down to the center S and into the Reta Oposta. Long, fast straight down to Subida do Lago. That's between the two lakes. A very tight left-hander there. And then you start to go uphill all the way through there. Pinheiro, Maguelo, the Bico de Patio, and the Juncao is a very important corner because from there to the start-finish line is flat out uphill.
The F3000 series accompanies the Formula One World Championship through most of the season. As David mentioned, many of these drivers seeing Brazil for the first time. Predominantly a Europe-based series. As the cars roll off, here's a look at the starting lineup. Frenchman Sébastien Bourdais with the Supernova team starts alongside Thomas Enge, a title contender a year ago. Veteran Mario Haberfeld will be inside row two, and Rodrigo Sparrofico, one of two twin brothers from Brazil, on the outside. Bjorn Wertheim of Sweden and Enrico Toquecello, another Brazilian, will be on row three. Now, as you look down through this list, you may not be familiar with most of these names, but you'll certainly know some of the sponsors and the teams. Formula One team managers pay a great deal of attention to this series, David.
Absolutely, because it takes place right in front of them all at the Formula One race. It follows them all across Europe. This is the first time they've been to Brazil. This is a big flyaway race for these Formula 3000 people. So obviously wanted to impress on this, the first race of the season. As you say, a lot of very familiar looking sponsor cars there. The name's not very familiar, although a lot of these people have done Formula 3 and other lesser formulas before they get up to Formula 3000.
In fact, many of the better funded Formula One teams will actually field teams in Formula 3000 to groom their stars of the future. The field is coming around to take its place on the grid. While it does, we'll take a quick break and return to round one of the Formula 3000 Championship from Brazil. Welcome back to Brazil in round one of the Formula 3000 Championship for 2002. Here on Speed Channel, I'm Bob Varsha with David Hobbs. The field forming up as we get set.
Of course, the guys on the right-hand side of our picture will be on the dirty side of the track here, don't forget, because all the cars come sweeping up to the left of the picture here and blow all the dust over there. You can see the smoke coming out of these guys up to the rev limiter.
Uphill start into the left-hander at turn one. And we've got a stalled car, the red car. That is Bjorn Wertheim from the Arden International team. Everyone gets around him and sails off into turn one. Close moment at the start.
Well, that's disappointing for Wertheim there as they swoop through the center S's cleanly through there. No contact by the look of things.
Now the car's
in the lead, holding off Enge there, but Enge's hanging in.
Going down the inside of the left-hander at two. Enge takes over the lead. Thomas Enge, a title contender last year, takes the first position from Sébastien Bourdais, the pole sitter. Enge out in front. Changed over to the Arden International team this year from the Coca-Cola Nordic Racing team that won the team championship last year. Oh, we've got a car off and on.
That's Enrico Toquecello, I think, running wide. You see the track going downhill. This is a nasty understeering corner. This is especially on the first lap when the tires are cold. They don't have tire warmers like Formula One cars. So these guys have got to put some temperature in these tires. Here you see, no, that's
Antonio Pizzonia, test driver for Williams Formula One this year, going off and on, racing in front of his home fans. Driver known as Jungle Boy, hailing from the northeastern part of the country, the headwaters of the Amazon River. Coming around to complete lap one, it is Thomas Enge in the red Arden car leading Sébastien Bourdais of France. And they appear to be racing off into a battle of their own.
They are. He's very close, isn't he, Bourdais? He's right behind him. Very nearly got on the inside there of Enge. Enge's car really looking loose there, sliding through the center S.
Third is Brazilian Rodrigo, or as he prefers, Rod Sparrofico. A pair of twin brothers, his brother Ricardo, or Rick Sparrofico, also in the series. There's a look at the top six. Mario Haberfeld, Enrique Toquecello, and Ricardo Mauricio, your top six. Points scored according to the Formula One. Oh, got rubber on rubber there.
And a lot of smoke there. There's a lot of people locking up into that tight left-hander.
I was going to say points are scored according to the Formula One system. The top 6 finishers, 10, 6, 4, 3, 2, and 1 points each. As they climb the hill on the infield. The cars are built to the same dimensions as contemporary Formula One machinery, but they use V8 engines, a spec engine from the Zytek company, worth about 460 horsepower. Another look at the start. Bjorn Verdheim, the Swede.
Ooh, boy, they were lucky there, squeezing both sides of him. Just enough room on his right to allow a couple of cars through there, but a very close call. And here you see the car streaming into turn 1. And as I said, no contact there, but Enge making a great start at getting some momentum through the S's and getting Bourdais at the first major corner. Enge still leads from Bourdais.
Verdheim did finally get away and runs at the back of the pack. Enge posting fastest lap on lap 2.
Thomas Enge, of course, you remember, did a few races for Prost team last year, the 3 races for the Alan Prost team last year. He did Formula 3000 before that, and they did Italy, US, and Japan for the Alan Prost team. Looked like he was going to get a drive then. Of course, Prost folded.
He was very much a protege of the 4-time Formula One world champion Alain Prost. But the way Prost ran his team was he needed paying drivers, and Bourdais simply did not have the money. It was ever thus in international motorsports.
Play me another one there. You see Enge's Coca-Cola colors. Bjorn Verdheim back up to 16th now, so he's making ground through the field.
Enge was teamed last year with the eventual series champion Justin Wilson. Take another look here at some interlocking wheels. Bjorn Verdheim and Nicholas Chiesa. So Verdheim is on a charge, qualified 5th, so he's obviously got the speed, and he is barging his way forward from the back of the pack. Enge, as I was saying earlier, teammate to last year's series champion Justin Wilson of Great Britain, first British driver to win the FIA Formula 3000 championship, but got very little notice from the Formula One teams, in part because of his great height, well over 6 feet tall.
Certainly not a good thing to be these days, is to be a tall racing driver. And Formula One may well change the rules. Enge's car still looking very loose as he goes through the center S's there.
But he continues to set fast lap. We'll take a break and return to more of round 1 of the Formula 3000 International Championship. Welcome back to Sao Paulo, Brazil. Round 1 of the FIA Formula 3000 Championship. Bob Varsha and David Hobbs with you. Completing lap 8 of 35, and lots of Avon rubber getting scorched there at turn 1 under braking.
Absolutely. Pizzania braking there, trying to catch up with Mauricio Ricciardo as they're battling it out now for 6th spot.
Flying down the long straightaway. And hard braking for the left-hander, still plunging downhill at this point.
Pizzania making a bit of ground in some areas, in other words, losing a little bit. This is that start to that long uphill here through this fast series of curves, ending in a very tight hairpin. This long right-hander, putting a lot of load on the left-hand tires. Then it turns into this very tight right-hand, and the road drops away big time there. So it's difficult to set the cars up for these infield turns here. This is where you can do with a lot of downforce, but when you get to that long straight, you really want to feather as much off as you possibly can. Pizzania definitely catching up now, making up ground fast on these downhill curves.
Now this is in replay. This is Ryan Briscoe, the young Australian, trying to make the step up from Formula Renault racing in Europe, also carrying the familiar Coca-Cola colors.
Thomas Enge now got a good lead over Bourdais. Pulled out a lot now, nearly 5 seconds in front. In fact, I think Bourdais seems to be slowing up just a bit, but Thomas Enge, in spite of his car looking pretty twitchy through those center S's, is putting a lot of daylight between himself now and Stefan Bourdais. Or even Sebastian Bourdais.
Look at that gap. Enge obviously hooked up. Here's a look at Nicholas Chiesa, the PSM racing entry, getting around Alex Sparafico. Yes, there is a third Sparafico in this race, a cousin to the twin brothers, Rick and Rod.
Boy, Nicholas Chiesa got around him there, but that was a tight pass down the inside. Very tight move there. That was for 18th spot.
Here's Rod Sparafico making a pass on Bourdais for 2nd place.
that Bourdais must be having a problem here in the Supernova car.
Definitely looked twitchy in the middle of that turn complex. Ricardo Mauricio and Pizzonia closing up on Bourdais, who continues to slow. So much at stake in the first round of a championship like this, especially with all the Formula One team bosses standing by in the pit lane. Climbing toward the pit entry now. It looks like Bourdais will pit.
Sebastian's pulling off. Can't see any visible signs of problems, smoke or anything like that, but he's lost a lot of pace in the last few laps and pulled into the pits.
It's always tough to tell here in Brazil who's pitting and who isn't, because the drivers use that pit entry as part of the racing line.
Oh, Pizzonia trying to make a pass here. Oh, touch wheels there.
Oh, boy.
I tell you what, though. Mauricio held him off there very well. I mean, that was very nip and tuck. Pizzonia is going to have to regroup now and have another go.
You can notice the similarities between these cars and the Formula One machines. Here's another look.
Mauricio on the outside, Pizzonia down the inside. Boy, those wheels were close there. Pizzonia finally pulling into the left side there and getting those wheels away from each other.
Here's Ryan Briscoe in the red car and Alex Sperafico battling for 19th, and oh, they touch wheel to wheel. This is getting rough.
Sperafico bouncing up to the left there, but both cars seem to be okay and unscathed, because you never know whether it bent anything, but they seem to be okay so far.
Back to the battle for fourth between Mauricio and Pizzonia.
And while they're battling, that's allowing these Coloni cars of Enrico Toccatello and Giorgio Pantano to catch them up, because they're concentrating so hard on each other that they've kind of forgotten what's going on behind them, which is great for the two red cars.
Once again, in keeping with the Formula One theme, remember the Coloni team from the late 80s, early 90s? Enzo Coloni started out in the minor series in Europe, moved up to Formula One after a couple of fruitless years, left motorsports entirely, then came back in the mid-90s at the Formula 3000 level with his own team. Still locking up the left front there in turn one.
That's Pizzonia, I think, trying to get through Mauricio, or past Mauricio. Locking him up again, so it gives Mauricio a bit of breathing room as they come out of the center S down to this downhill, very fast straight. But the Coloni cars are right on top of them. Pizzonia moves up on Mauricio.
You can tell the different engine note between these V8s from Zytec and the howling V10s we hear in the back of the Formula One machinery. Great battle here, Mauricio and Pizzonia. Well, Pizzonia can pull right up behind him, but just can't get by. Oh, there's Alex Sperafico and the Minardi in the familiar KL colors of Kuala Lumpur in the pits. I think maybe that collision with Briscoe was too much for the car.
Seems to have bent something. It was a pretty severe belt, actually, I must admit. You see him going up behind those blocks of apartments. Some great views from some of those rooms. I imagine quite a bit of money changes hands in some of those back rooms.
You tell the shadows are growing long. The race happens late in the day after the Formula One cars are finished qualifying.
There's Rod Sperafico.
The Durango Formula team, one of the top level teams in the sport. And here's Ryan Briscoe passing Tony Schmidt with PSM Racing and taking over 17th position. Up front, it's still Tomas Enge over Sperafico. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back to the debut of the FIA Formula 3000 Championship here on Speed Channel. Bob Varsha and David Hobbs with you from round one at Sao Paulo, Brazil. This is the battle for fourth between Brazilians Ricardo Mauricio and Antonio Pizzonia.
Well, they've been duking it out now for a number of laps, obviously giving the home crowd a big thrill as they're trying to battle it out for fourth place there. This is the thing about motor racing at the higher levels, these intense battles, and these guys are doing this for fourth. Here comes Mauricio, blocking on the inside. Pizzonia goes to the outside, comes in, locks up that left front big time. Now he's floundering around out in the dirt and rolled up rubber. So Mauricio lives to fight another couple of corners. Pizzonia's effort there coming to naught. That was a good try, though.
Pizzonia driving for the Petrobras Junior team. Petrobras, the national oil company in Brazil and a long-time sponsor of young racers. Here's another look.
Great pass here. Goes to the outside there. The weight transfer takes place here. That left front just locks up, flat spotting it. Goes really wide, and now he's out in the dirt and dust, and obviously loses all momentum. And Mauricio, as I say, lives to fight another day. Behind them, the two Coloni cars, and right behind them is another Sperafico driving the second car, the team car to Pizzonia there. So pretty close battle here. Mauricio could be holding these guys up just a little bit, although it'd be a little bit hard to say that just right now. But very close battle here. 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th there.
Lots of great stories in this field, and Pizzonia is one of them. I mentioned he comes from a small town in the Amazonian rainforest, absolutely cleaned up in racing karts in his youth. In fact, his karting record compares very favorably with one of the Brazilian gods of motorsport, the late 3-time world champion Ayrton Senna. He then went on and did very well in some of the other minor formula before moving up to Formula 3000. And this year he is also adding testing duties with the Williams Formula 1 team. Now, a moment ago, this was Rob Nguyen. Another great story. Vietnamese family born in Australia had a grand total of 9 car races of any kind in the low horsepower Formula Volkswagen series in Germany. Here he is with 460 horsepower under his right foot in a Formula 3000 car. It was a little too much for him right there.
No wonder he had to spin. Pizzonia now coming under pressure from the Coloni car there. Mauricio having got away a little bit now. Tocatello is right on Pizzonia's tail, and his teammate has dropped back just a little bit, and Sperafico, Ricardo Sperafico, is just behind him.
Climbing the hill toward the Boca de Pico. What is it? Boca de Pata.
Yeah.
Duck's Bill.
Tight corner anyway.
There's the Red Bull colors. The energy drink that has had such a big impact on worldwide motorsport sponsorships, including Team Cheever in the Indy Racing League in the United States. Red Bull is making a big effort to find a young American to move up into the Formula 1 ranks. 4 young Americans, in fact, are being located on fully funded rides in the minor single-seater formula in Europe. You'll be hearing more about that as the year goes on. Tomas Enge out front, Rod Sperafico in second, and Mario Haberfeld in third. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sao Paulo, Brazil, in round 1 of the FIA Formula 3000 Championship for 2002. I'm Bob Varsha along with David Hobbs. We're at the halfway point of this 35-lap race. This is the battle for 8. Bjorn Werdheim, the Arden International car, the red machine, putting pressure on Ricardo Sperafico in one of the Petrobras Junior team machines.
What a drive that Werdheim's having. This is the guy that stalled on the grid, and he's pulled up from dead last. He just snatched 8th place away from Ricardo Sperafico, who was having a pretty good run there.
And he begins to draw away immediately.
So he's now catching up to the Coloni car. Giorgio Pantano, who's running in 7th. So Werdheim now threatening for 7th spot, having come from dead last after stalling on the grid. So that's a terrific run. Sperafico there, Ricardo Sperafico, dropping back very fast there.
Hit forward for Antonio Pizzonia. Ooh, someone else torturing those Avon tires. Boy, these drivers are nothing but aggressive.
Bjorn Werdheim taking a bit of rubber off the front tires there as he brakes for turn 1. But he is really coming on strong.
Once again, all the chassis made by Lola, all the engines by Zytec, and all the tires are Avon radial construction.
All a bit confusing with 3 red cars in a row. Taxing your expert analyst's brain to the utmost here with three red cars in a row. That's Giorgio Pantano in one of the Coloni cars.
Well, we'll all get to know these young drivers together.
And right behind him now is Werdheim. Boy, what a drive he's having.
Keep in mind, Werdheim qualified 5th.
He qualified. There you see Ryan Briscoe, the young Australian, going underneath Nicholas Kieser there in the black car.
That for 16th position through the Senna S's. Climbing the hill towards start-finish. Meanwhile, Thomas Enge continues to pull away in the Arden International entry. Started second, jumped past pole sitter Sébastien Bourdais, who slowed and pitted with what we now understand to be a puncture. He's gotten back in the race, but in 19th place.
So Sébastien Bourdais has had some wins in this formula over the last couple of years. Successful runner, but hasn't sort of made the big jump into Formula One, so he's now languishing in 16th spot.
And that's one of the other elements of this series that's fun to watch. These drivers are under tremendous pressure. You can come into this series and show your stuff, but if you don't get it done in 2, 3, even 4 seasons, you've got problems.
Yeah, you've really got to get it done in a couple, and you've really got to do well the first year, which certainly Verdheim's doing okay. This is a rookie year for him, and he's up to 7th at the moment, and having stalled on the grid.
Durango Formula borrowing a visual cue from the old Benetton Formula paint scheme.
That's Rod Sperrifico, who's losing ground now to our leader Thomas Enge.
Now Mario Haberfield right there in third, another Brazilian. He's one of the kind of guys I'm talking about. 4th year in the series. Somehow, despite all of his success in the minor formula, simply has not had the success that was expected of him here in Formula 3000.
And did have staggering success in some of those lesser formulas. There's no doubt about it. The sort of guy you'd have thought would have leapt straight, even might have leapfrogged over Formula 3000 into Formula 1. Went into Formula 3000 and has stalled out completely. So not looking too good for him in his 4th season.
In fact, Mario Haberfield was the British Formula 3 champion in 1998, and that may be the toughest crucible in minor league open wheel racing.
And suddenly 1998's 4 years ago. You know, 4 years after winning the Formula 3 championship, the British Formula 3 championship, you certainly look to be well into Formula 1, not doing your 4th season of a stepping stone formula into Formula 1. Now he's giving Sperrifico a hard time now. Haberfield is making a lot of ground on him. Certainly got a lot of experience in these cars, more than Sperrifico.
Right now the Brazilian drivers all running up front, with the exception of our race leader Thomas Enge, who comes from the Czech Republic. Checking the race order, there's Enge, then Sperrifico, Haberfield, Mauricio Pizzonia, all Brazilians.
Verdheim still behind Pantano. Ricardo Sperrifico. Baumgartner there is a rookie as well. Nguyen, who we saw spin earlier there. I think that's Nguyen in that white car there.
Mario Haberfield's pit board. He is right there now with Sperrifico.
Boy, he is right there. Just half a second separating them. These cars are looking very lively as they come down that downhill S there. They don't have the grip, of course, the Formula 1 cars. They don't have anything like the wing. And really nothing like the tire. Much harder compound, obviously, to make it more even for these guys. All the same tires, all Avons.
The Sperrifico brothers are interesting. They have gone in lockstep up through the ranks of Formula Ford, South American Formula 3. They came and ran one of the Formula 3000 series that are endemic in Europe, the Italian Formula 3000 series, or as it's now called, European Formula 3. Same basic spec as the FIA International Championship, but considered a national championship, even though they do run a handful of races in some other European countries. And the Sperrifico brothers have been together through all of that. Now this is Bjorn Werdheim trying to pass Giorgio Pantano.
To pass on Pantano down to turn 1. Didn't work that time. Again tried to go around the outside, but knew he was on the wrong line and knew he wouldn't be able to pull it off, so gave up and tried to pick up a bit of speed through the corner, which he does.
I'm wondering if Werdheim has used up these Avon tires charging through the field after that stall at the green light.
Yeah, because Ricardo Sperrifico, who he passed easily just a few laps back, has caught right up to this battling duo again. So now he's poking his nose in here. So Werdheim's not only trying to get around Pantano, but he's also got an eye on the mirror for Sperrifico, who's right behind him.
As I mentioned earlier, using the pit entry as part of the racing line. More tire smoke.
Yeah, more tire smoke when they arrive there. He tries again on the outside. now. Does a nice job there. Picks up speed by not going in really wide. Gives himself a good late apex and picked up a bit of speed, but not enough to be able to pass Pantano.
And we have 3 cars in a draft here, flying down the back straight. The Reto Pasto, or time down the inside.
Oh,
that was
good
great.
pass. And Pantano loses enough speed there that Ricardo Speraffico gets alongside him, and he goes by as well. So Pantano in the Coloni car there suddenly drops 2 places in a couple of corners, so that didn't do much for his day.
Wonder if Speraffico's thinking about Pantano just ahead of him, or his brother running well up the order.
I don't expect right now he's caring too much about his brother. Here you see the pass from another angle, goes down the inside, nicely done. Pantano, I guess, momentarily lifts up there, which of course lets Speraffico go by on the inside as well.
There's a look at the running order. Wertheim will be knocking on the top 6 shortly. Welcome back to Sao Paulo, Brazil. Bob Varsha and David Hobbs with you for round 1 of the FIA Formula 3000 Championship, a 12-race series featuring the young stars of Grand Prix racing in the future. And if not Formula 1, perhaps open-wheel racing in the United States in the Kart FedEx Championship or the IRL. You see the running order.
There you see the battle going on in front of us now is for 2nd and 3rd. That's Rodrigo Speraffico, chased by Mario Haberfeld. As we've already said, Mario Haberfeld, a 4-year veteran of Formula 3000, just 13 laps left. So got to start getting things done, because you've got to take your opportunities in sort of racing. It's so close and competitive that you can't sort of hang around waiting to do some last-minute pass, because it just ain't going to work. Speraffico's still got a pretty good gap back to Haberfeld, and of course Thomas Enge, who's leading the race and has done since the turn of the light, is long gone.
There he is.
There he is indeed.
Flying out the left side of your screen. Check the gap back to the 2nd place car.
The entire length of that long uphill front straight, but Speraffico and Haberfeld for 2nd and 3rd, still locked in a pretty close battle. It won't take much of a mistake by Speraffico for Haberfeld to snag that position.
And then another long gap back to Ricardo Mauricio in 4th.
Ooh, Pizzonia right behind him, still locking him up.
He just keeps tearing strips off that left front.
He does, yeah. He won't be able to sell that one for much money after this race, I'll tell you that.
Oh, man. These are tough, tough tires.
And then Toccacello in the first of the Coloni cars is right behind him. And Wertheim, who looked like he was really coming up to the field, that I wouldn't say he's faded, but I thought he'd catch up with Toccacello, but has not done so.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? Passing the back markers is easy. Getting up with the fast guys makes it a lot harder. Toccacello, an Italian. Then Wertheim, as David mentioned, the Swede, pretty much stationary in 7th right now after a great drive from the back of the pack, following a stall at the start of the race. 14th place, Zsolt Baumgartner, carrying the hopes of his native Hungary. Climbing the hill, one of the few patches of this racetrack that is still covered in sunlight. Here's a look at Sebastian Bourdais passing Tony Schmidt for 18th. Now remember, Bourdais started on pole for this race, was passed by Thomas Enge, who has kept the lead while Bourdais suffered a puncture, went to the pits, losing almost a complete lap, and has had to fight his way forward, but he hasn't been anywhere near as successful as Bjorn Wertheim. Now here's Ryan Briscoe, the young Australian, passing fellow Australian Rob Nguyen for 15th.
I was going to say, the Aussies duking it out there. Both very young and very relatively inexperienced. Both Ryan Briscoe hasn't done an awful lot of racing, and as you said earlier, Rob, Nguyen has done, what, 9 races before getting into Formula 3000. So really very inexperienced drivers.
Well, Briscoe is Toyota's official Formula 1 test driver, despite that relative inexperience, mostly in Formula Renault, which is the series from which another Formula 1 driver launched directly from directly to Formula 1 from Formula Renault, and that, of course, would be Kimi Räikkönen,
who certainly was a most amazing find. you see Thomas Enge with just 10 laps to go as he comes into that turn one. Very fast approach here. These cars doing about 170 as they come into that turn one area. Then the big downhill swoop here. How's his car look now? Looks a little bit steadier now. Obviously not driving as hard as he was earlier. Obviously the tires are fully up to temperature now. As you can see, the sun is shining. Very warm day in Sao Paulo.
Now here's David Salins, who almost loses his grip in the black Minardi right in front of Alex Mueller. Salins will hold on to the position. That is 10th place. Salins, the young Belgian, now in his 3rd year in the series.
Another guy who was incredibly successful in his earlier career, and
cars bounding all over the place. Salin went wide as Mueller bounces across the curb. Tiago Monteiro, young Brazilian with the Supernova team, gets between them to take over 10th place. And Austrian Patrick Freisacher in the Red Bull car also picks up a couple of spots.
That was a fairly fraught moment, wasn't it? All of them jamming into that corner, all making mistakes and bouncing around, but Freisacher coming off best of all in that little dust-up.
Great nose-to-tail battle here. Monteiro, Freisacher, Mueller, Baumgartner, and Ryan Briscoe coming into the picture in his red car as well. Not a good day thus far for the reigning champions from Nordic Racing. Ryan Briscoe running back there well behind 10th place. Zolt Baumgartner in 13th. Ryan Briscoe 14th. So the Nordic teammates. Now neither of those drivers was with the team when they won the title last year with Justin Wilson and Thomas Enge. So maybe it's too much to ask that they keep flying the colors in this opening round of the 2002 championship. There's David Salins. The Belgian's day appears to be over.
That's the second Minardi out of the race. There's the first one in the left-hand bottom corner of your picture.
Now this is especially tough for him because, as we understand it, his deal is not solid for the season. So he definitely needs to put his best foot forward every time he gets in the car. There's that battle for 10th.
Oh, a lot of dirt, a lot of smoke coming up there.
Flying down through the Senna S's and on to the Reto Opposto. Back straightaway. Now's the point where the crews will be telling the drivers less than 10 laps to go. If you're going to get something done, you better do it soon. Enge continues in a comfortable lead. We'll be back in just a moment. Half a dozen laps remaining in the opening round of the FIA Formula 3000 Championship for 2002. A rare intercontinental or offshore race for the Formula 3000 Rising Stars in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Thomas Enge took the lead at turn 1 of lap 1 and has held it ever since.
And this is the battle now we're looking at from the helicopter or a high tower. The battle for second spot between Rodrigo Speraffico and Mario Haberfeld. The gap there about 1.5 seconds.
Now Enge, the race leader, is slowing down. Thomas Enge is headed for the pits and gives up the race lead for the first time today to Rodrigo Speraffico. Mario Haberfeld moves into second, and suddenly it's Brazilians 1, 2, 3, and 4 in front of their home crowd.
Boy, that is very tough on Thomas Enge. So late in the race, and he had such a good run all afternoon. The car looking very good. Made a great move on lap 1 or turn 2, lap 1, got the lead off Bordays, and just pulled into the pits. Obviously far too late to do anything constructive to the car at this stage.
Oh, Enge just shaking his head. He cannot believe what has just befallen him. And I suppose neither can Rodrigo Speraffico, who now leads the race.
In front of his home crowd. What a day for him. That'll be just fantastic if he can win this race. But even if he doesn't, it looks pretty certain that a Brazilian is going to win it. Thomas Enge there talking to somebody from the crew. Christian Horner, the owner of the Arden Racing team. He did Formula 3000 for a bit there and decided after a while that running the cars is better than driving them. So been a very successful team owner as well.
There's a replay. Ryan Briscoe coming up from behind, a little optimistic, going under. Then this is his teammate, the Hungarian Zsolt Baumgartner, for 13th. He punts him off the track. Baumgartner tries to get back on. What a great shot.
Is Baumgartner suspension bent? I think it is.
Might have broken something.
But that was a pretty optimistic move, I thought.
Oh!
Yeah.
So that's Baumgartner still there. No sign of a yellow flag.
Well, details, Bob, details.
He is 90 degrees to the racing line in a blind corner.
He's just around the corner. He's just enough around the corner to be full. Boy, oh boy.
This is amazing.
He's desperately hoping the thing's going to coast right up that guardrail and hide behind it, but it won't happen.
Oh, here comes some corner workers running along the arm coat. Bring your flags, guys. Oh, well, I'll get a letter from the FIA. Yeah, the engine revving. He's trying to get it moving. I think he broke the gearbox trying to get it off high-centered.
I think he might have broken the drive shaft. You think? I mean, it definitely gave that left rear suspension a severe clout, and it bent the suspension. Maybe it broke the drive shaft.
SC safety car. They finally decided to throw a full course caution to attend to Zsolt Baumgartner. A moment ago, you saw race leader Rodrigo Sparaffico coming up behind Tony Schmidt to lap him. I assume this means, yeah, there's Baumgartner. He's still unable to move, so they're going to go out and give him a shove. Oh,
there's the old overflow going. Whoa! Well, that won't work.
I think the car is overheating.
If the engine's been running all this time, it'll be getting very warm. That just looks like water. I don't think there's oil in there, but
get him turned. All right, Baumgartner back underway, but we are still under yellow. The safety car is on course, so we'll take a break and return momentarily. Rodrigo Sparaffico leads a quartet of Brazilians up front. Welcome back to the waning laps of the opening round of the FIA Formula 3000 Championship for 2002. Lights are out on the safety car. It will dive for the pit lane, and Rodrigo Sparaffico will lead 3 of his Brazilian countrymen. And this crowd will go absolutely crazy to see 4 young Brazilians who've chosen to make their way in single-seater racing in Europe come home to sweep round 1 of this feeder series to the Formula 1 World Championship. 2 laps to go when they take the green.
Well, just 2 laps to go. And Mauricio rather let himself get caught napping on that restart, I thought. Under threat now from Pizzonia, and right behind him, of course, is Verdheim, who's had a terrific afternoon.
That Rob Nguyen in the white car,
yes,
from Team Astromega, trying to pick up a spot.
Now here comes Verdheim going down the inside of Pizzonia. No, can't do it.
That's for 4th place. All the gaps gone once the field packed up behind the safety car. There's the race leader, Rodrigo Sparaffico. And just behind him is Mario Haberfeld.
Car's looking pretty good after that little run behind the safety car. Very often the tires cool down dramatically. They pick up dust and pick up off the track. And very tricky for the first lap or 2, but they don't have a lot of time. These guys have only got 2 laps from when the safety car pulled in, so they've really got to get on with it. Car's looking really pretty stable under conditions. Mauricio there. Pizzonia still under pressure from Verdheim there in the red car.
Great drive for Rodrigo Sparaffico, who has somewhat overshadowed his twin brother Ricardo once again today. And as Verdheim still working on Pizzonia, 1 lap remaining.
Oh, Verdheim's going to be on the outside as they go into turn 1. Pizzonia locking up there big time, so Verdheim's going to pick up a little bit of momentum, but not enough.
Well, you can see why Frank Williams likes this kid Pizzonia. Oh, Wertheim, is he going to try something on the straight? Pizzonia tactical drift, shall we call it?
Yeah, forcing Wertheim to the outside again, which is not the place to be.
What a great dice.
Oh, terrific race going on here. Absolutely fantastic. And right behind Wertheim is the colony of Pantano.
Sounds like someone's got an off-song engine out there. It's not Pantano, it's
Tocacello, right.
Yeah.
Wertheim locking up both ends there. Both tires are inside, right side tires leaving smoke.
Pisonia squirrely under braking, climbing right-hander for the last time. And now a steep uphill run to the left-hander that takes them on to the long flat-out blast to the finish. Puff of smoke there from the back of Rodrigo Sperafico's car, but it looks like Mario Haberfeld will run out of time. Checkered flag awaits in the opening round of the FIA Formula 3000 Championship, and Rodrigo Sperafico has come home to Brazil to take victory, leading Mario Haberfeld, Ricardo Mauricio, and Antonio Pisonia in an unprecedented 1-2-3-4 finish for Brazilian drivers. Then Swede Bjorn Wertheim in 5th spot and Enrico Tocacello of Italy. But this day was dominated by the Brazilians. And look at Sperafico celebrating as the corner workers come out. Little extra flair, I think, in that traditional flag salute to the finishing drivers. We'll take a break and return to wrap things up for this opening round of the FIA Formula 3000 Championship. Stay with us. Welcome back to Sao Paulo, Brazil. There is race winner Rodrigo Sperafico, still shaking his head, and you can see the smile right through the visor hole in his helmet.
I bet you can too. What a way to start the season off with a win at your home race like that in front of the Grand Prix team owners and managers. Just a tremendous way to start the season.
As the team gathered around Parc Fermé, visually Sperafico kind of resembles Mauricio Gugelmin, Formula 1 kart driver.
Yeah.
Here's a look at the final results. Rodrigo Sperafico over countrymen Mario Haberfeld, Ricardo Mauricio, and Antonio Pisonia. Then Wertheim, who stalled on the starting grid but came all the way back to finish 5th. Tocacello is 6th, followed by Ricardo Sperafico and Giorgio Pantano.
Briscoe and Nguyen had a fairly eventful afternoon, finishing up 12th and 13th.
Although Briscoe is going to have to go back and explain how he managed to knock his teammate Zolt Baumgartner off track. Baumgartner came home 17th. This, of course, being the first round of the championship, the results are the championship standings. So Rodrigo Sperafico will be saluted this weekend, and then we'll head to the next round in Imola, Italy as the championship leader, as is his team, Durango Formula.
Congratulations to
and there is the happy podium.
Presented with his trophy by
race winner Rodrigo Sperafico accepting the trophy. Now, if someone can figure out why there's a British flag up there, the anthems are complete. I assume those flags are there to represent the teams, but neither of the top, none of the top 3 teams are British based. I'm not quite sure why that is. Maybe they ran out of Brazilian flags. And look who's handing out trophies.
Yeah, Nelson Piquet, 3-time world champion.
And the 3rd place driver, Ricardo Mauricio, presented.
Good to see Nelson up and around, doing some race promoting in his native Brazil.
And of course his son is about to drive in British Formula 3.
Good to see Nelson walking easily too, after those terrible leg injuries he suffered at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But today is all about Rodrigo Sperafico, who has come home to claim the opening round of the FIA Formula 3000 Championship. With 11 races to go, he is the championship leader. He's obviously in world championship form when it comes to spraying champagne.
Absolutely, yeah.
Much smaller caliber bottle than we're used to seeing in Formula 1, I might add. And listen to the drums. We are definitely in samba country. Be sure to join us next Sunday, December 1st, for round 2 of the 2002 FIA Formula 3000 Championship at 8 p.m. Eastern, with replays here on Speed Channel to follow. I'm Bob Varsha for David Hobbs. Thanks for joining us. We'll come to you from Imola, Italy for the second round of the Formula 3000 Championship. We'll see you then. So long, everyone.